Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Punching Up with Sean Conroy. I am Sean Conroy, and guess what I am doing? I am punching up. Today, I have a conversation with my old friend, Jeff Yorks. Jeff and I work together at a network called the Oxygen Network back in the day. We were both involved in the animation department there. It was animation based on actual photography. So we spent some time traveling around New York City and I think up into Westchester, a couple of different places to shoot stuff for this. And we worked together. So it's wild that Jeff then went on to do all this other stuff that you'll hear about on the podcast and was the co-creator and co-executive producer of the most recent iteration of the Muppets called Muppets Mayhem. Um, really, really interesting that he went that way because, as we discussed, he was an editor for the most part. And he has a genius idea of what to do with his editing skills that I think you can hear me in real time react to it and be so jealous that I never thought of it. So it was fun for me to hear that, and of course, because I'm a huge Muppets fan, going all the way back. I mean, even before the Muppet Show, I was obsessed with Sesame Street as a kid. I mean, Sesame Street started just around the same time I did, so I really grew up with it. I talked a lot about how I was not allowed to watch television as a child, but I was encouraged to watch Sesame Street. I loved Sesame Street. I loved Grover. I loved the Cookie Monster. I loved Oscar the Grouch, obviously Big Bird and Snuffleupagus. Just the whole thing really was something I enjoyed. I also very much enjoyed Electric Company, quite frankly. I loved that program as well. Not a fan of Mr. Rogers. I did not care for Mr. Rogers. I found him a little bit condescending. That's what I didn't like about him, was that he was always kind of talking like he was like, okay, boys and girls, now we're going to go see what's behind the couch. And I was like, okay, let's pick it up a little. I was thinking the other day, what if because Mr. Rogers at one point testified in front of Congress, the Senate, or I don't know if it was the Foreign Services, the Foreign Relations Committee, or I don't know what it was, but you know, I think he was defending public broadcasting and funding going to public broadcasting. Maybe he was being interrogated for being a socialist. Like, oh, so Oscar the Grouch lives in a garbage can. You believe that that's how socialism should work. Um, but I was thinking of how funny it would be if he was in front of Congress or the Senate now, and they would be like, now, Mr. Rogers, you're saying it's all right for children to have to listen to a cat who says meow, 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 but you're supposed to understand what he's saying just by intonation? Uh, well, Senator, here's what I think we should talk about. Who gets paid $175,000 a year and has a stock portfolio worth $11.5 million dollars? Can you say inside information, boys and girls? Like, I guess what I'm saying is even Mr. Rogers would have his version of a burn book, and that would be fun. So, anyway, here we go. Jeff Yorks, everybody. Jeff, let's
Sean.
start with this.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you for addressing me by my formal name. You worked to develop the Muppets Mayhem, Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem new series. And I guess here's my first question is, obviously the Muppets are there's a huge universe there. So what made you focus on Dr. T? Like, why not do, why not do like Statler and Waldorf's days as an old vaudeville team, or
Totally.
Gonzo is trying to be a summer stock actor and gets relegated to being the stage manager, and all of a sudden that becomes his life's calling. You know
Yeah,
what I
these
mean?
are very. I've had very similar ideas, but
Yeah.
no, I mean honestly, I love music. I've always been a music guy.
Hmm.
I love live music. I love playing music to for my kids, and I collect vinyl and all that stuff. And I just thought they're the coolest characters. This could be our Mandalorian, a sideways door into the Muppet. I felt like culturally people were a little over Kermit and Piggy. They weren't as much in the zeitgeist as they are at the moment.
Hmm.
Um, but I just love the band, and I love that they have all these different personalities. And I thought like the rock and roll world is just perfect for sort of parodying or taking advantage of. There's just so many great stories that could be told, and I loved Almost Famous. I thought there's room to sort of tell a wistful story in there as well. Um,
Right.
and
So when you say you love the band, are you saying you love them ever since I'm assuming that you're a Muppet fan going all the way back
Yeah, so yeah, of course, big Muppet fan growing up. In college, I interned at Henson. So I was
out
at
in
this,
LA,
no, out in New York.
in
So
New
they had a
York. Okay.
studio in New York, and I feel like they had a shoot for Muppets Tonight, which was a show in the late 90s, mid 90s, I guess, mid to late 90s, that I feel is a metaphor for my career with the Muppets, where they were doing this remote shoot for a Prince episode. So they shot that in Los Angeles, but they were doing a literal remote part shoot of it where Statler and Waldorf were using a giant remote to control the Jumbotron. And so they needed an intern to or a bunch of interns to help out with the shoot in Times Square and
Hmm.
to hold the C stands that were fencing off the shoot from the public. And so the metaphor is that I was asked to stay on the outside and I just sort of weaseled my way in. Can I hold these C stands not from the outside? Can I go on the inside and hold them together? And yeah, I got this firsthand look at, these heroes of mine, puppeteering these heroes of mine.
Hmm.
And it was great. So yeah, always loved the Muppets. And at NYU, I met my partner on this, which Adam Goldberg.
Okay.
And
So that was another question I had, was how you guys ended up collaborating on it.
yeah, so Adam and I met at NYU after a couple of friends of ours. He was a cherub, which is sort of like the summer program for would-be Northwestern students.
Okay.
He had met a bunch of people
Was
there.
there any thought put into calling it cherubs, or was that just we want to make fun of these people?
I think the latter. Yeah,
Hmm.
let's give them something that'll scar them, but will bond them, I believe. So
Hmm.
he did that with a bunch of friends of mine, and instead of going to Northwestern, he went to NYU. I actually did a UCLA program. I went to NYU. But we had friends who were like, "Oh, you guys, do you know Adam?" I was like, "Oh, Adam Goldberg, the actor? He goes here? Cool." Um, and it wasn't until like a year later we met in a video class, and we're like, "Oh, we're supposed to." And he was like watching me doodle Muppets. I think I had my Muppet internship at the time. And he's like, "I love the Muppets too." And we just hit it off and just became friends and remained friends. And after school, he went out to NYU, he went out to LA, and I would visit every once in a while and stay with him. Um,
He had some success in his LA career.
right away, because he was there for writing,
Hmm.
uh, dramatic and visual writing, I think as well as film. But he was like, "No, writing is what I do," and
Hmm.
he came out to LA and got instant success. Instant success meaning he got a job in a writer's room on the bottom rung and worked his way up.
Right.
And then, obviously he and I kept in touch. I came out to LA in '08 as a trailer editor. Um, when we worked together in New York, I sort of at
You and
Ox
I, you're talking about now.
yes, you and I, yes.
Yeah.
That's where we had first met at the animation department at the Oxygen Network. Our department was also beta testing Final Cut Pro for Apple. And
I was not aware of that. I think we did a
totally.
good job.
Yeah, right. There's still some flaws. That's on me. But yeah, I was like, I will be that guy. I will be our department's editor if that's because now you're telling me with this computer that I'm on, I can now have this at home and I can re-edit movies and stuff.
Well, and we should just make clear that this was, I don't know, Jeff, this was almost 30 years ago,
Mhm.
right? When we worked together in New York.
Yeah, this was
Um,
probably the end 99 or something, 99,
yeah,
2000.
yeah.
And so yeah, this was all brand new and I just realized, oh, I could do digital editing and wound up getting my first jobs after Oxygen as an animator, as an editor, as a freelance editor.
Hmm.
And
So,
I
so
started
you, so you did that when you came to LA.
yeah, so I was doing that at home. Jen and Randy, who we worked together with, they
Hmm.
started hiring me in their next job as an editor.
Hmm.
And I was bored. Um, so I started just
They're
recutting.
boring, they're boring people. They,
They
you
are.
know.
They are. The work was fun-ish. It was fun to always work with them. The
Hmm.
work wasn't as fun or as glamorous. And so, yeah, I
Hmm.
just started recutting movies to songs you never knew were about those movies. So, and then just throwing them online. So I call them cinema mashups. And I put I'd recut All the President's Men to the Beastie Boys Sabotage or The Shining to
Not full length, not
the length of the song.
right. Okay.
Instant Karma, it with the John Lennon song. I cut The Shining to that.
Okay.
And then I started putting them online. I got attention, and a headhunter who was like, "There's this place out here that kind of is interested in you." Came out here, took that job at a trailer house, realized near instantly this is a misfit for me. Or I was
What was so wrong about it? It was just
a
too
machine.
corporate. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a machine. And there are people who thrive in that, but I just saw myself as a little more creative and wanted
Hmm.
to have a little more of a personal stamp as opposed to, hey, have you watched Ice Age 3 yet? No, we're going to need you to stay tonight, watch it, break it down, just in case we get notes on a 30-second TV spot.
Now, let me ask you this, Jeff. Have you watched Ice Age 3 yet?
Many times. The
Okay,
bane of
good.
my existence was that my kid discovered it as a toddler, and we
Hmm.
would have to listen to it over and over in the
Okay,
car.
so at least you covered that
Oh yeah, yeah,
eventually.
yeah. No, I got it. I could
All
probably
right.
cut a trailer. I could do it in a night. I could
Hmm.
recut a 30. But yeah, I had a hard time reconciling cutting TV spots for, I mean, t TV spots were now being phased out by DVRs. And
Right.
so we had a mutual parting of ways.
Hmm.
And I went freelance and I had a friend, my other internship in college was another trailer house. There was one editor there who was like, "You want to watch me edit? Cool. You want to digitize dailies to Jackie Brown? Sure, be my guest." And he started his own trailer house. He started giving me little gigs. And this was me finally cutting trailers. No one was watching these trailers. They were for like, below independent horror films, but
Uh-huh.
that's how I cut my teeth.
Well,
And
you were putting in your I don't know how many hours you're supposed to put in. There's a certain number of hours that you're supposed to do at any particular task before you become a master of that task. So,
yep, I'm still 6 hours short of that.
oh, so you're at 9,994 hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I started to do them and I got like bigger and bigger trailers there. And it was a year out of Trailer Park. I got nominated and won some Golden Trailer Awards, went up on stage at the ceremony, got my speech, got quoted in Variety.
Oh, wow.
It was cool.
Yeah.
And at the same time, oh, here you go. Yeah, this is a full circle. So then I went back to Maryland to Jen and Randy's wedding.
Oh, and I saw you there.
Yep. And I ran into Doherty,
Hmm.
Mike Doherty, who was a friend of Jen's. We were all in the animation department at NYU.
Right.
He went on to make a movie called Trick or Treat, and he wrote the second X-Men movie.
Hmm.
And so we were friends in college or the Oxygen days. And then, yeah, he was out here doing stuff. I sent him the one I did for The Shining. He's like, hang on a second. You made this? He's like, we should do stuff. He's like, do you cut like sizzle reels and stuff? So I started doing that. I started with him and I helped him edit sizzle he was pitching a movie called Krampus. Um,
Which ended up being very successful.
yeah, totally. So he sold that to Legendary. Legendary's like, yes, we want to make that movie. Um, but who made that? And then Legendary started hiring me to help them as a studio sell their things to networks.
Right.
So they would give me the log line or a pitch document, other writers, scripts, pilots, and just say, can you cut something together that is, so
So you
analogy.
would, sorry, let me just try to understand this
Yeah, dude.
process. You're trying to sell this stuff, so you don't have a show. You're taking your own, not your own footage, but footage that you find and putting it together to say, this is what this show will ultimately feel like.
Exactly. Feel like.
Hmm.
So yeah, so
So they're
my
putting a
thing, my
tremendous amount of responsibility on you for that because
it's crazy, right?
that's the
You're
whole show is what is this ultimately, sure, here it is on the page, but what is it
right.
ultimately going to feel like?
I was sort of being hired for my sensibility at a certain point, or
Hmm.
my interpretation. They were assuming my interpretation of what they had written was cool,
Right.
would helpfully elevate it. But yeah, my thing was, I'm not doing a sizzle. I'm not just doing a glorified montage. I'm going to do this as a trailer. So this is a trailer for a movie or a television show that you haven't seen yet, that does not exist yet. And instead of me cutting a trailer for a movie from a movie that's 2 hours,
Right.
I'm now cutting it from every movie that's ever existed
So you can use whatever you want.
into a 2-minute trailer. And using cards like, or not really narration, because that was also out of fashion at this point.
Hmm.
I would just do,
None of that in a world shit, right?
no, you could do it as a card though. But again, like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was none of that. It was using my animation background from Jen and Randy, what I learned, graphic design and,
Hmm.
those animation, simple After Effects or motion graphics to do stuff. Three friends. Okay, well, that just did some heavy lifting for me.
Right.
Three high school
We know they're friends. We know they went to high school together.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Who find a map. Okay. And then I'll show shots of finding a map. But then it was
Right.
also like, I'm not going to use a shot from Goonies. I'm not going to use shots from things
Well,
that are going
people
to
have their own associations with that stuff.
exactly. And they start playing less the, oh, what is this movie? That I'm now seeing a trailer for. But what
Right.
is,
Oh,
oh, I
this
know
is
that.
Goonies. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So it's sort of being able to cut, for lack of a better word, smartly, in terms of just to know what people know, to assume what people don't. The greatest thing was a movie would come out, it would have the greatest budget in the world, and no one saw it. It was a bomb,
Uh-huh.
right? So like Peter Jackson produced a sci-fi movie, post-apocalyptic thing, and it did terribly. And I'm like, oh,
But I was gonna say you were rubbing your hands together
yeah,
because
well,
you were like,
I got it.
now I have all this footage I can use that
Yeah.
nobody's seen. So
So
I just want to tell you two things that I think relate to what you're talking about. And I'll start with the first one and then we'll see if I even remember what the second one is. But the
I'll
first
remind you.
one, okay. The first one is that I recently I teach a lot of pilot writing stuff, and one of the things I sort of came up with, and I have this is like I said, this is just recent, but I was like, what if we did it like this? And I have tried it a couple times and it's worked great. Is the idea of before you even write the script for your pilot, imagine that it has been made and write a script for the trailer. Write a 3-page script for what people would see if they saw the trailer for the actual show. So it's just interesting to me
Totally.
that you're saying, because it's like a bite-sized version that gives you everything you want to feel about the show.
Yep. It's also beyond what you're seeing, what you're hearing. Like you want to have that trailer line in your script, that
Right.
people connect to. Yeah, I
Right.
mean
What is the underlying, like, it's a great way to get to jokes quicker. It's a great way to get to sort of the underlying theme quicker and just get
mhm.
it out there as opposed to I have to read through 15 pages of this to
Yeah.
get
Oh,
to it.
and that I mean that was the thing because writers hate hearing it that this exists and that this is a tool, but it is. Look, you don't want to leave your idea to the minds of some of people who, in many cases, don't have the greatest imagination, who
Hmm.
also don't really want to read.
Right.
And so here you go. Here's 2 minutes of your time on your computer, on your phone, that's going to give you a perfect idea. And guess what? Now we could send it to this other person.
Right.
It's the greatest, leave behind, but it's
It's
also the
it's
get before.
This never even occurred to me. It's so amazing hearing you talk about this because, yeah, people do not want to do work. They
Nope,
want to passively absorb things. And
totally.
so to sit down and, I mean, again, I'm trying to help people write sitcom pilots, which I still think is a valuable skill and a
Very much.
learnable skill. But if there's a version where you can go, you know what, we're going to sell it in 90 seconds. Here it is.
Yep.
That's what the people receiving it will be thrilled by
Yeah,
because
this will get
nobody
you
wants to
in.
do the work, you
Totally.
know?
This will get you in and sell it.
Right,
You still have to write it, you know?
right, right.
Um, yeah, Adam was another one. Adam came to me, Adam Goldberg came to me, and he's like, yo, so, because I helped him with his previous show on Fox. I would just cut stuff for like conventions,
Hmm.
friend favors. And that was literally just cutting from his show. But then he's like, yo, I have this idea. My show's canceled. I have this idea for a new show. It's about my family who I'd met. He's
What
like,
was his family's name?
they were the Goldbergs,
Oh,
as it
okay.
turned out.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, and I'm like, I totally get it. He's like, you've met them. I totally. He's like, I have all these home movies. I was like, I got it. It's the Wonder Years. And instead of looking back with wonder, we're looking back with horror.
Right.
And I was like, just give me 3 hours of home movies. Just have your assistant digitize them. And I think I cut it in an afternoon because it just like it
Wow.
was all right there. And you're just cutting
And
to,
did you guys end up selling that show?
it sold in the room. It sold in the room. I wish I had some sort of clause in my deal with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nuts. It was great. And like he's very I got a 3D TV from the Sony store out of it. Um,
Nice.
which is great. I love 3D.
Now,
But
does he ever does Adam Goldberg, you're friends with him, does he ever sit around and reflect on the very famous Skycap episode of the Goldbergs
who
where
played that Sky
the
Cap?
where well it's I won't get into all the details, but there's a moment where one of the where the guy who plays Adam on the show uh pulls up to an airport, going into an airport and leaves
Yeah,
his car there, and the skycap comes out and says, "You can't park here." And a lot of people have talked about that
I've heard of it.
skycap,
I've heard of that.
who was
I've not
very.
necessarily through him, but
First
other
of all, they
people.
always say he doesn't look like a skycap. He looks like a weird guy with a beard. But anyway, we don't have to get into it. But I'm sure there's times
Sounds
when that
terrific. And now,
comes up. Yeah.
my wife she said about my daughter who just like consumes sitcoms. She's
Uh-huh.
like, maybe he would like the Goldbergs. Maybe, maybe she would. There's a Sky Cap episode now on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But through, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. No, 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 go ahead.
Well, it was nice. Yeah, through that, like obviously that was a hit, and then Sony was the next studio that came to me. Um,
Which is
and so
why
they
you live over by Culver City.
Yeah, pretty much. And I started doing stuff for Sony, but then I had other friends who actually wound up doing something with Sony. They came to me and they were just like, "We have this idea for a show. No one knows. I think the Karate Kid, like we know the Karate Kid. Like, how would we do this? It's about the Karate Kid guys, but they're grown up and they're still at it." And I was like, "I totally get it.
You were like, I
It's
have this Peter Jackson sci-fi movie that I can use.
it's perfect." Well,
Yeah.
funny enough, that was for Twisted Metal. Sony came to me with Twisted Metal, which is this post-apocalyptic,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh, finally, I could use
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Infernal Machines or something. But I helped my friend sell Cobra Kai, uh,
Wow.
which is another one. Why don't I put this clause in there?
Yeah, yeah.
I saw someone online the other day. They're like, "Oh, this font is everywhere. What is it from?" And they were like, "Oh, this is the Cobra Kai font." And I was like, "That's the font that I picked for the pitch trailer."
You're
But
welcome, world.
totally. And then I'd always been writing, and then I'd been seeing all my friends blow up. That I finally was like, "Shit, I'm gonna cut something for my show." Um, why didn't I think of
What
this?
kind of stuff had you been writing? Like because that literally was my next question was, were you writing on the side
Yeah,
and what was that like?
always writing, mostly premises, but then yeah, screenplays. I wasn't writing TV shows. It was just
Hmm.
like these high concept, things I could never make
Right.
movies that were terrible.
Hmm.
Um, but I would always write, and then of course lists upon lists of ideas, right? Pages of just incomplete ideas.
Right.
And this was one of them. I was like, look, I think there's room for this show in the world. Let's do a Muppet show. That's about the band.
Hmm.
And so I cut, oh, it was a movie, and I cut it together, and I sent it to Adam because, he was my Muppet pal. And I was like,
Right.
what do you think? He's like, oh my God, we have to do this. He's like, but I think it's a TV show because he's more of a TV guy.
Right. Right.
So he's more comfortable there. And he's like, and these things sell. This is in like the early days of streaming. He's like,
Hmm.
we could sell this.
Right.
But here's the catch. This is him now talking. This is my Adam voice. He's like, I hire register. I have a deal with Sony. I don't have a deal with Disney. I can't make this. So you go back to cutting your things. We'll talk about it. And I was like, oh.
Right.
And I think a year passed, and he's like, guess what? My deal with Sony is done. I'm doing a new deal with ABC Signature, which is Disney. He's like, Muppets is going to be my priority.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, cool. And this is my world. This office covered with toys is my world. I have no, real connections out there. So I'm just waiting for him to call me. He
Right.
still was he was doing finishing up the Goldbergs and the spin-off. Um,
Oh, the college one or whatever it
it was the high
was.
school teachers.
Yeah. Tim
Just
Meadows.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's finishing that up. So it wasn't like, anytime I'd call and he wouldn't pick up, I'd be like, what? Why? Well, he's such a dick. He's such a jerk. But it turns out he was really busy. And I learned how busy when he and I made a television show together. But
That he
yeah,
had other things going on.
yeah, he had other things going on. And he was like, I mean, he was doing everything on that show.
Hmm.
He was doing many things on that show. He was very involved in editing. But yeah, it came to the point that we were about to pitch. Then the pandemic happened.
Yeah, that was not a good time. Not a
No.
good time.
No. It was a great time as a father
Hmm.
because I just had this precious time with my kids every
Right.
day.
Right.
And it was before they had reached an age where they were young adult roommates. They were still kids who wanted to hang out with their parents. So that was nice.
Right.
But I was also like, we're so close.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we had pitched it. Anyway, somewhere in there, we pitched it.
Can
And we
you
had,
talk a little about what that process was like?
yeah, recut the trailer.
Okay.
To now say it was from Goldberg's creator, Adam Goldberg, and super Muppet fan, Jeff Yorks, because I had no real credits. What, I'm going
Right.
to sell myself as an editor, I guess.
Right.
Um, and yeah, we worked on the pitch. What is this as a television show? And so it's me who's watched a lot of television and written things, but not television, with someone who's been through all of television. Again,
Right.
starting at the lowest rung to like now being the creator of a show,
Right. Now, when you say what is this as a television show, can you try to articulate what you mean when you ask that question?
Yeah, it's easy to say we're making a show about the band,
Right.
but what is that show? What is this show about? Who are these characters? What are they going to learn? Why now? Why are we telling that these characters have been around since the 70s? Why are we telling this story now? What is this story? Um, it's, we realized more so when we were writing it that these characters, they can learn and grow. They can't change. You can't change who they are. It's The
Right.
Simpsons.
Right.
At the end of the day, they have to be the same characters. But yeah, what is for the audience? How are they coming into this world? We realized early on you need a human to be the audience surrogate to come into this world.
Hmm.
So who is that? And my take early on was this is Almost Famous. This is a writer who works at Rolling Sponge magazine,
Uh-huh.
who is
Which is not an actual
no,
magazine.
I found out afterwards, but
Yeah.
yeah, it
That
was
makes the
not.
pitch harder when they're like, we don't,
It was.
that
Hear
doesn't
me out.
exist. Yeah.
Everyone knows Rolling Sponge, right?
Yeah.
Um, and she was going to be following a story about her parents' favorite band that she was raised on, that she loved.
Right.
Where are they now?
Now,
Uh,
let me ask you this, Jeff, because this is really interesting to me because you're talking right now about developing the pilot idea, basically.
Yep.
And you're saying the original idea is not the idea that ultimately ended up happening.
Nope.
And I love the idea that you're talking about. So tell me about what went on with that as you were developing it and how you got to the idea that you ended up using, you know?
Again, so okay, you have a premise there that she
Right,
meets this band. So what's the story of this band?
right.
And we started to, that was the wall we were running into. Um, and then,
Sorry, one more question.
yeah, yeah,
What point in the process are you at right now? Is this before you go into pitch or is this
yes.
after you've sold the show?
No, this is absolutely before we were
So you
going
have
into
to
pitch.
pitch the pilot as part of the pitch of the
Yeah.
show.
Or what is our, yeah, what is our show about?
Right,
We had a trailer. That's
right.
great. But let's figure out what the
So
story
the
is.
show is just a bunch of trailers from Peter Jackson movies?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they're all just coming up on, and yeah, and then footage I could find of Ralph Macchio.
Right.
It worked out though, and yeah, we I think the thing I realized was because I loved playing music for my kids. I loved that we would have breakfast in the morning, and we would listen to side A of a vinyl,
Hmm.
and that they could also see that music was something, a tangible object.
Not just ones and zeros.
Yeah, and that would just flip around or just based on your algorithm, you now we're going to serve you this. I love that it's a crime that, you could possibly listen to Abbey Road, side two out of order or be
Right,
mixed
right,
with
right, right.
something else.
No, it
I
is
like
crazy. It drives me nuts that I used to listen to an entire record and that just doesn't happen anymore.
it's crazy. So I love that I could do that with my kids. That's how I was raising my kids, that they could see artwork and there was a mystery to it or just
Hmm.
whatever, a gatefold. And I was like, that's what it's about. Because the Electric Mayhem have never had an album. Muppets are comedy, emotion, and music.
Right,
And here's this actual musical band in this world, and they've never had an album.
right.
And that's what it should be about. It should be about this person somehow documenting or helping them in some way to come out with their first album. And that is what I learned is called the engine of the show.
Yes. Thank
Uh,
you.
yes. I didn't know
Yes.
this stuff. Again, I'm working with one of my best friends has had all the experience, who was my Yoda on this thing,
Hmm.
who took me under his wing. I was never an equal, but we were partners.
Right.
And I just had this
Well,
first,
not that you weren't an equal, but you didn't have the same depth of knowledge of the medium in which you were working.
exactly. And so for me, I was just learning at every turn. I can come up with ideas and, I could
Right.
spitball with a friend. And it was great, but there's a term for this.
Right. But
And
that was, I don't like to keep bragging about how I have all these questions that I'm anticipating what you're going to say, but the fact that
totally.
you just said that's called the engine of the show is delightful to me because I was like, I was going to say, what made you think that Dr. Teeth and the Mayhem because here's the thing about the Muppets, and you know this better than I do, is it's all like quick flash, bite-sized comedy, and
Yep.
that's not an engine. So how do you go, okay,
Yeah.
these guys who the big joke is animal is crazy and Zoot just plays one note on his saxophone. How
Mhm.
do we turn that into something that sustains over numerous episodes?
Right. As a Muppet fan, I knew that they were each individual characters.
Hmm.
So they do have personality types.
Right.
So that is, and someone already created them. There was one character in there who did not. This character Lips, who's this yellow one who played the trumpet, who would show up in some episodes and not other episodes. Like it just,
Very hard to understand lips.
and that what we created that, right? Like he would have throwaway lines in different incarnations of the show,
Uh-huh.
but we decided, well, wouldn't it be cool if this character named Lips was unintelligible and had every connection in the world? And I'm super proud of that. That's like now
Yeah.
his thing.
Well, I
But
mean,
yeah,
just to put a little bit of a finer point on it, it's like in I came up obviously at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. We always talk about the game of the character. What's the game of the character? And the game of that character is unintelligible and has all these connections, and it's
totally.
such a clear, simple, funny thing, and it works so brilliantly, you
Yep.
know?
We also had our third part. I don't want to skip ahead too much, but when we pitched it to Muppets, they were instantly on board. And they're like, but you should work with, because I also think they wanted one of them, a Muppet,
Of
performer
course. Yeah.
from the Muppet camp involved with Bill Beretta, who was
Hmm.
one of the Muppet performers, who had also been trying to concoct his own Dr. Teeth in the Electric Mayhem show.
Oh, interesting.
So they introduced us. We clicked right away. And in the writer's room, you have Dr. Teeth with you.
Right.
So, so much improvisation happens in the room. I have a bit of an improv background. Adam went to theater camp as well, but we would just play as these characters.
Hmm.
And then you have the real Dr. Teeth there, you know?
Right.
But yeah, it was figuring out who these characters were, what their traits were. Um, and again, having this human as this audience surrogate into this world. Okay, maybe she's not a writer. Maybe she's more of an instigator. And then we came up, okay, they're making the album. Maybe she's helping them create the album. Why is she helping to create the album?
Right.
Because she's working out this record label that's going out of business as often as they do. And then we could play off record industry tropes and things like that.
Right.
Um, but again, having these characters who cannot change fundamentally, but can grow was something that was really fun. A cool, interesting problem to have to deal with. Um,
So you kind of went straight from she's the kid in Almost Famous to she's a record executive. Like
right,
that
right.
came up
Um,
fairly
with
quickly after that.
Yeah, yeah. So that we figured that out, and that's how we went into the pitch. Here's the trailer, which didn't get too specific into that. We just showed this is cool, and there'll be celebrity guest stars. But here's the idea, and it's about what we need more in this day and age is, five, six, characters who are different shapes and textures who fit together in their weirdness, and we're going to celebrate that by making music and comedy.
Hmm.
They were in. Again, the only ones we could pitch to were Muppets and then Disney Plus.
Right.
And if Disney Plus was out, then we weren't making this.
Because they own it.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
Disney Plus was in. But I'll tell you another thing. This is the other advantage we had. Once Muppets was in and we were getting ready to pitch this thing, um, we had to meet with the Muppet performers, which is amazing. For me, I mean, as a
Right.
Muppet
Right.
fan, now here are my heroes. That's incredible. And then we convinced them through Bill, what if you guys crashed our Zoom for the network? So then you're in this Brady Bunch Zoom, and what's happening? And this was like a whole technical nightmare.
Yeah, of
Show the
course.
trailer, blah, blah, blah. We introduce ourselves, we go through it, and then all of a sudden the screen gets populated with little squares, all the performers doing their Electric Mayhem characters from around the country. They
Uh-huh.
set design them themselves, and there's nothing like having a Muppet say your name to
Right.
you.
Right.
So, yeah, shortly after that, we got the green light.
So that was the gimmick in the pitch was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
was the
So not only
Muppets
did we have the
showing up.
trailer, then
Right.
we have the actual Muppets.
Right.
That's a tough one to beat. And it's a
It
fun
really
idea.
is.
Yeah.
It almost feels unfair in a way.
And then we had Adam Goldberg, who made the successful,
Right.
the
The one
Goldberg.
is the show with the Skycap episode.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um
I'm still blanking on the spin-off, but
uh so you sell the show,
yeah,
you go into now you have this idea of what the pilot's going to be. What was the process like? Okay, let me back up for a sec. When you sell the show, do you sell the entire series or do you just sell the whole thing at once?
they wanted to do a pilot,
Okay.
and I think everyone was very upset about that.
When you
Um,
say everyone, you're talking about you guys.
Yes, everyone
Okay.
involved on the Muppet side, and Adam, Muppets. It's very difficult to just do a Muppet pilot.
Right.
There's a lot of building. It's not just in the real world. You have to
Right.
build stuff. It's a lot of work for that. And Adam is just like, you don't hire me just for a pilot. So I'm gonna see who I could talk to just to see if we can get 6 to 8 episodes.
Right.
And so we did. We got one of those mini rooms to then sort of pitch out what a season would look like because we wrote a pilot with a mini room.
Tell
So
me about the mini room. How many people?
it was six of us.
Hmm.
Um,
In
uh,
person or on
no, it was on
Zoom?
Zoom,
Uh-huh.
and it was very difficult for me, as was the writer's room, the eventual writer's room, to do it
Because,
because it was on Zoom. Uh,
oh,
I was very insecure
yeah,
about this. I was the new guy, um, working with writers. I had just seemed to have jumped a number of rungs to get to, I'm now, an EP on this thing.
right.
Um, and
I
yeah, which
literally
is,
have a question here. I can't find it right now, but I literally have a question here about imposter syndrome. Did you ever
it was
feel?
absolutely imposter syndrome.
Because
And
the people you're working with are television writers, I'm
yep,
assuming.
yep, we've been
And
doing this
you
for,
are a television editor. You said you've been doing some writing on the side the whole time and whatever, but that's just different from being in the room and
yep.
knowing how those dynamics work.
I feel like I'm Johnny Bravo. I fit the suit, I cut the trailer,
Uh-huh. Right.
you know? And so I had to prove that I was more than just that.
Right.
And this was
Which
also,
is the best way to be in the writer's room is going in with the attitude of, I have to prove myself right now.
I hope so, but I was also really nervous and didn't
I'm
know
I'm
how to
kidding. I think that's really hard.
Oh, it was
Like I think,
terrible?
yeah, yeah. I think
Oh
putting that kind of
God.
no, 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 no. I'm not saying you. I'm saying like putting that much pressure on yourself takes away from just being creative and having fun and being in the room,
And it
you know?
did, and it did. And in one of the first days, because I had all these ideas going into it,
Right.
um, and they were very important to me. And Adam, because he's not just the showrunner, he was my friend, called me up. He's like, "Don't worry about it. It's all good." He's like, "It is jazz." He's like,
He said that after you had been in the room a little bit.
"Yeah, this was like day
Because he was
4,
like, Jeff, take it easy. It's fine.
right?" When
Yeah.
he could see me,
Right. You were
curled up.
sweating. You were, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah, just holding on to the toys
I
and
got
seeing how
this. I got this. I got
yeah,
this. What about this? And it's like,
really desperate,
yeah,
and yeah.
yeah,
And he's just like, it's all good. He's like, have faith in the system, have faith in the room, have faith in all of us. Good ideas will find its way,
right,
and
right,
just be chill. We got some time. It's all good.
right.
And that it changed that day, you know.
Well,
Um,
that's good because some people won't listen to that, you know?
Now, I definitely took it to heart. It was tough to break of that. But the thing that was tough for me about the Zoom, still being insecure, was just seeing everyone's face all at once and
Hmm.
watching people respond to my thoughts or my ideas, my contributions in real time,
Right.
being whether interested or disinterested in it, more so disinterested. That is tough. It's one thing when you're around a table and that person is rolling their eyes next to you. Um,
Well, because even at a table, you're not looking everybody directly in the face all at the same time.
yep, there's
And there's
that
also something different about being in a physical space with people where even just body language is different and micro expressions and all that stuff, you
on
know?
top of that, everyone is in their home.
Right.
So they're absolutely comfortable in their home.
Right.
Um,
And
versus
you're in that room there and you're like,
what
what am I doing with all this crap behind
yeah,
me?
I'm trying to sell it. I was also trying to do this as just a Facebook marketplace.
Right.
And it was yeah, so I think it's different than being going to an office where you put on your office face and
Right.
your be office behavior.
Right, and you get up from the table and you walk in to get a snack with somebody and you're like, can you believe the fucking idea that Jeff pitched? What's going on with
Totally.
him?
Right. That's where you do it. But it was very tough for me to see that all in real time on
Hmm.
screen. And I would know who to look to. My insecurity would know who to look to all
Right,
the time.
right.
Um,
Because
but
they were gonna get you. They were gonna support you no matter what.
or destroy me.
Oh, I
That's
see.
that's
You're
what I'm saying. My
saying focusing on
insecurity
the
looked
bad
at.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm a negative person
Right.
inherently. But it was
Not
in that
me, not me.
nope,
Sorry, go ahead.
it wasn't me. Then in but we had 6 weeks and
To
we
write the whole show?
to write the pilot
The
and
pilot.
make
Okay. I was about to say,
no,
what
I
the
think
fuck?
it was maybe 2 episodes
Okay.
and to map out what this would be.
The rest of it.
And so then they gave us a piece of software called Writer's Room Pro
Hmm.
that we're like, oh, they just want to spy on us with this
Right.
to see that we're working on this and what are
I
our
have writers' room minor leagues.
yeah, semi-pro.
Not so great. Not
No,
so.
and this was not necessary. We didn't use it. Um, but at the end of the day, I was like, I think this is going to help us sell our show because it was like an Excel document and you can arrange it by episodes.
Uh-huh.
So we're like, okay, it's 8 episodes. And we're going to have columns that are going to say the title names and what songs we want to include, what guest stars ideally, what's the premise of this episode, what are they going to learn? Um, and
So it was a fucking worksheet. People
it
love
was
worksheets.
right. But here's the thing about that worksheet. Because our characters were colored, as in green and blue and pink and yellow and orangey yellow, we could color code it
Uh-huh.
so you could see this was a Dr. Teeth episode here.
Right, right.
And this is going to continue here, and you're
Uh-huh.
going to see Dr. Teeth again here. This is going to be another Dr. Teeth with animal episode or Floyd and animal episode.
Yeah.
And so also now you're looking at this colorful thing. So at the end of this mini room, we pitch. They had the pilot. They'd seen that. They'd read that. Then we just flashed this thing. And we're just like, and here's what we're thinking. And we very quickly went through
Yeah.
and said, "This is episode. This is what happens here. Animal gets fired from the band, and he'll get a job as a Benihana chef, using his drumming,
Uh-huh.
and then they'll perform this to bridge over troubled water to get him back because they're about a family, um, and then yeah, that helped. I
Bridge
don't
over
know,
troubled water, and I apologize for saying this. I've only
not
watched the
familiar with it.
pilot. No, no, no. I've only watched the pilot, so I don't know. But
Oh,
I was struck by the Art Garfunkel reference in the pilot. So Bridge over troubled waters, it obviously comes back at some
full
point.
circle. I
Yeah.
think the thing that Disney probably did not like about our show was that they were these classic rock band.
Yeah, yeah. That I was thinking about that while I was watching the pilot. I was like, I mean, of course, I love it, but it's like, wow, they're going for Joe Cocker in the
It's
Disney
tough.
world, you know?
It's tough. And what I realized what we should have done is like, oh, you want to connect to a new audience. You got to do a cover. I think we do a cover, but I think they covered like, Rockin' Robin, you know, whereas it should have been
Tweedly
like,
deedly dee. Yeah,
yeah, which was a Muppet Show reference. That's cool, but we should have
right,
maybe done something like, no, let's have them cover something really relevant, really
right,
today with young talent.
right.
But, you know, so we wrote the show. We got the green
So
light
you
to
you
run.
gave him two scripts and
Yeah,
six more. Was it six more
I
episode
think it was eight
ideas?
episodes total,
So six more episode ideas,
just
and
outline.
they were like, great, we'll do it.
Yep. Yeah. So we had to, went to the top and yeah, we got our green light. And now it's like the tail end of the pandemic. So still all of our meetings are happening over Zoom.
Hmm.
Um, and our writer's room was over Zoom. So
And how
we
many
had,
people? You did the mini room with six people. How many
I think it
people in the
became
writers?
8 of us.
Uh-huh.
And it was great. I mean, and again, still very, very difficult. The other great thing about it was the aspect of writing from home. I do some of my best ideating
Hmm.
in the shower.
Right.
So we would have something, we would be working through something in the morning, and it wouldn't coalesce for me, uh, or we another problem. We have to figure this out.
Right.
I could then over lunch, over our hour break, scarf down lunch, but then
Come
run
back
into
with
the
a
shower.
pitch. Come back and say, what if we try
Yeah.
this?
And my hair would be wet. And, but yeah, the only way that's going to beat an okay idea is having a better idea. Here are
Right.
4 ideas. Maybe they're not better, but
Right.
here are 4 ideas to help solve this problem, that we
No
couldn't figure.
such thing as a bad pitch because either it takes you in the right direction or it makes you more convinced that you're not going in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. You're totally right. And it was, yeah, that was just a lesson every day. But it was nice to be able to take a shower. Um,
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't do it anymore, but it was valuable. Um, and the other tough part about it is we were specifically writing Muppets, and Muppets are very like they're sticky. I know a lot of writers do not like puns and wordplay. I love crosswords. I love wordplay. I love Games Magazine. I love,
Hmm.
greeting cards. No, I just like I enjoy that stuff, and it's probably because I grew up with the Muppets. But there was definitely resistance. you know?
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, and you're not wrong, but I also always feel like, well, what do I know? I enjoy that stuff too, but I was going to say, I always feel like people are contemptuous of it in prospect,
Hmm.
but not when it's actually like when it's actually happening. People are like, oh yeah, that's funny. That is funny, you
Yeah, there's a
know?
little back and forth. If there
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
a balance there. But yeah, I mean, it's also a fine line between like, a clever pun and a dad joke.
Sure.
Um, so that was also interesting. And I made it through. We made it through. I
Hmm.
think we finished the room because yeah, we had now a start date for our show. And we
Production.
would be in the room and now okay, we would have to stop our Zoom because we were in production meetings.
And
And
you
it,
had to be in all the production meetings because you're a
yeah,
co-EP. Yeah.
yeah. And so, it was Adam, Bill, and I, and then we had 4 or 5 women writers with us. And, it was sometimes an awkward thing because it was now the boys are doing this.
You guys were the people who went to the production meetings and they
Right.
were in the
Yeah.
room.
And we, just be like, okay, see if you could work on this episode. But they gave us such amazing stuff. And like, how could we write this show about a female, protagonist
Right.
as guys? Um, they just brought such an awesome perspective. And the other
Hmm.
hilarious perspective was that there's a character that like I sort of related to who was this nerdy kind of fanboy of the band. I'm like, I could write this guy for days.
Right. Right.
And um, the girls were just like, no, he is the most uninteresting, um, unattractive. We're gonna set up. You want to set up a relationship between these two? He
Right.
is so unattractive. And here I am sitting with all my toys,
Yeah, yeah.
and my Muppet faces surrounding me. I was like, oh,
He gets all his ideas in the shower. What kind of
yeah.
person does that?
Jeff, take a shower, please. Um, but then, yeah, we would have these meetings, and I mean, it was a blast for me. Like I loved it all. Like
Yeah.
after going to film school and being interested in all of this stuff, like to finally be able to do all of this stuff.
Hmm.
But we finished the room with maybe, did we have 10 episodes? I think we had 10 episodes at the end of the day, and we had written 8.5 of them.
Uh-huh.
So now we're getting ready to shoot. The first big problem we have is, our show is guest stars, rock and roll guest stars. But the pandemic has mostly ended, and now every musician and guest star who have not been touring for 2 years are now making up for 2.5 years of lost touring and lost income
So
because
nobody's
we're all on
around.
the road. So we're scrambling. And all of our cameos were written to these people.
Right.
That was the first problem. The second problem was when we got to set,
Can we get
and
Colton Dunn to be the barista in the first episode?
it was awesome. He was so good, so great. But the next problem we had was just like you're not making a regular television show when you're making a Muppet show. Just like I was saying, a pilot, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, and our first day, we're setting up our little office, and we shot at the studio where they shot The Office.
Hmm.
So our exterior is the painting that Pam,
Right.
painted. But then they're shot like we're in an office in the office. But there we're setting up, and we do have some writing to do because we have to write an episode and a half. We're like, let's just get this
Was
done.
it the last episode and a half, or was it
Yeah, it's
earlier
the
than
last
that?
episode and a half,
Okay.
and we they start setting up. We're like, how's it going? They're like, it's great, it's great. We are now 4 days behind schedule.
On the
Setting
first
up
day.
on the first day.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh God. And we
Is
had
there a
like,
way we can get a time loop going at the end of the schedule so we can start over a couple days before we
wouldn't
did?
that be, we should have just written a time loop episode or just figured out. I mean, there was a possibility of it,
Yeah.
but yeah, we realized really early on, unfortunately, that what we had written was not shootable in the time allotted
Right.
to make the show, with the budget given to us. And so we had to, from day one, rewrite our show. So now we weren't just writing the last episode and a half.
Right.
We were rewriting everything that was going to be shot in the next few days.
From stuff you already had
Yeah. Yeah.
and trying to change it so that it would work cheaper and faster
Yep.
and less
And
complicated.
now that this person showed up today and they tested positive for COVID, So now is this, or this guest star would like to see creative. So can
Right.
you write three different, possibilities of what their cameo might be?
Right.
But yeah, so it was just me and Adam in a room,
So the
just
writers were all gone by then.
writers were all gone. It was
Wow.
just me and Adam. And he even said from the beginning, he's like, this is how it's gonna go. He's like, don't freak out over this,
Yeah.
about the room at this point, because you're gonna have many other chances, many other
Right.
bites
Right.
at this apple to get this to where you want it to be. But
Hmm.
yeah, it turned into, instead of the band enters the room, it is, let's how about three of them enter the room? How okay,
Right.
wait, how about two of them are already there? How about
Right.
it's just one of them?
And there's no door.
And there's no door.
Yeah.
And it's in front of a green screen. And
Right.
that was the other thing. It was like the Mandalorian had shot in the volume. And I was like, look, I just watch all these behind the scenes things, but this seems like a very valuable thing for our show.
Uh-huh.
Can we get a hold of a volume? And it wasn't as readily available as it is now.
I
But
don't even, can you explain what that is? I don't even know what
sorry,
that
the
is.
volume is, when you shoot in front of a giant LED screen, probably an 8K screen.
Oh, okay.
So the Mandalorian was just shot
And they can
on a
just change the
soundstage.
background whenever you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the Mandalorian is probably the highest end version of that, where it's
Uh-huh.
just like, okay, ILM will create this planet, and this is what it looks like, and
And you just flip a switch and it
yeah,
all
and
comes up.
now it's nighttime, and that nighttime has a
Right.
purple
Right.
moon, and it's casting a purple glow on his reflective costume. So there is interactivity there, and depending on your camera angle, the background changes in that
Right.
shot,
Right.
and focal length and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, we don't need to do all that, but imagine not having to set up or rearrange this whole everything because you're building up for the Muppets. The guest stars, humans stand
Right. Right. There's
3 feet above.
a ditch and a platform or however.
Yeah.
What was that like to be on set with all that stuff?
I mean, it was great. Look, my first day on set, just walking around was such a trip. I'm like, I like the record label. It said Waxtown Record. I came up with that. I designed that logo. That's
Oh, yeah.
nuts.
Isn't that an incredible feeling when you're like, this is some dumb thing that I thought of in the shower and now
Totally.
it exists in front of me?
It is crazy. And then, yes, then you're watching. It's like, oh shit. Like people actually have to, now they're cutting a hole in this chair because we just said Zoot is sitting. Like this is 2 hours of this person's workload today.
Yeah.
And like the decking, oh my God, for the reverse shot,
Right.
like they have to rearrange everything. And that's why we have to rewrite this. Um, but if we had the volume, I think it would have helped that you're just like, okay, now just put up the reverse and that happens.
Right.
And um, yeah,
Next
it was
time.
crazy. There was I mean, there were so many technical things that were happening. We had, again, from guest stars and just like, I think there was something like, look, we need that. This soundstage has our roof. And we're shooting this episode, which takes place on the roof. And we're supposed to shoot that episode later on the roof. But is there any chance it would be really helpful if we could tear down the roof and build our next set? So for that episode, can you rewrite it so they're inside?
Now, who was saying this to you?
This is our production manager.
Right, right.
Because we were doing what's it called when you're shooting all at once? I'm just blanking on the name for
Volume. It's called
no, not
shooting at
volume.
volume.
Um, when you're grouping all these things together. It's not bulk shoot. It's embarrassed, but we would shoot episodes 1, 2, and 3 together,
Uh-huh.
and we would shoot. Then we
Like
take.
all the scenes that take place in the office
Yep,
in three different episodes
exactly.
shot successively.
Yep. And so
Yeah.
they're like, look, it would be really helpful if we're not shooting this, if we're not using this. So we had to like sit and what's the finale? They were gonna make their big discovery and sing True Colors on the roof. And it'd be a really nice moment. And they're like, how can you shoot it?
They were going to sing True Colors by Cyndi Lauper, right?
Yes.
And that was because you couldn't get that Al Jolson song that you guys really wanted to use, right?
Which was also called True Colors. Yeah, seriously, how much older can we go? Like the network was just like, please, can it just be Traitor by Olivia Rodrigo?
Right.
And we're like, nope, it cannot. And so, yeah, we had a meeting and we're like, okay, True Colors. And oh, how about this? What if for this random scene, Lips is said earlier in the episode, he's going through and untangling lava lamps, right? And setting up the lava lamps, and they're hippies, and so it all works. And they just moved into the house, to the shack. this could work. And at the end of the episode, when they have this emotional moment and it hits both of them and they start singing True Colors to connect with her, because she's finally showing her true colors to them, who she really is, that's when Lips plugs it in and all these lava lamps light up the screen,
Uh-huh.
right? And we're like, maybe this somehow turned into a better idea.
Yeah.
And it was great. Like it was
I mean, that's a thing that I come back to, not the better idea thing, which I think you're right about that, but for me, one thing that I always really tried to stress to people in the room was there are going to be problems. There are always going to be problems, but every problem has a solution. It just might not present itself right away, and you
totally.
have to just work the problem until you get to the right solution, and you will find it, and you will know that you found it when you find it.
I
And like you
absolutely
said,
agree.
sometimes it's going to be better than the original idea, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, you hope for it. And this was such an unexpected one. Um, Again, good ideas found their way in the room.
Hmm.
Um, you have a time crunch sometimes, so it's not always the case.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was just beautiful when it did work. Um, and then, on top of that, we would have production come in and just be like, okay, so we're going to shoot on this lot. And you get to redress all of the signage on these storefronts. So can you just come up with a list of storefront names? And I'm just like, this is the best. I know
It's
we have
just
to
talk about puns. That's just joke writing and puns all
totally.
over the place.
It was the best. It was the Freddie Mercury Theater. Freddie Mercury Theater was one of them because I'm like, they'll get it. An Orson
Yeah,
Welles joke, you
yeah.
know?
Right.
But it was like I just had such a blast doing that. But we weren't writing.
Right.
And it wasn't true writing. And then we, have to bring it to legal.
Of
But it was,
course.
what's it say on this can of beets?
Right.
I'm like, let me add it. Always room for that. But it was every day was another adventure. And writing for another celebrity and um, finding out that they're sick, or we had written an episode. There was a really fun, a really great experience in the writers' room where we doled out which writers were writing which episodes,
Hmm.
and everyone's going to get a solo at some point. And we gave one of these writers, Julie Bean, who's so brilliant and so funny, um, and a showrunner in her own right. Like she ran shows.
Uh-huh.
Um, After I think we were in the writers' room and it was Thanksgiving, and that weekend, um, Let It Be, the Beatles doc, no,
Oh,
Get Back, the Peter Jackson,
yeah, yeah, right.
Get
Boy,
Back
you
came out.
really do you work for Peter Jackson? You just
I
hype
do.
that guy left and right.
Get ready because I come in on Monday and everyone's so happy to see me with this great idea. I'm like, we should do, even if it's just for a cold open, we do Peter Jackson storms out, right? Because
Uh-huh.
you dream big. Uh, Peter Jackson, I can't work with these guys, but
Yeah.
that'll be fun. And then it turned into, wait a second, let's do a bottle episode that's a documentary. We had Matt Sohn, who was a DP on The Office, already attached to be a director on the show.
Uh-huh.
So like, he knows the in and out
How to
of,
shoot a documentary.
yeah, right. So let's make that one of his, and we'll do this, mockumentary episode. And we're getting into it like I'm just pitching, all the Beatles jokes and what we could do here. Here's, the Dr. Teeth's love interest will become Yoko. They'll be working on songs together. Oh, we'll do something that's sort of like, when you watch Paul McCartney do Get Back. And Julie was just like, I am very excited to hand off this episode to Jeff. Like this just seems like a Jeff episode, and I don't want to take that away from him. He's so enthusiastic about
Uh-huh.
it. I'll take any other one you want, and it was the sweetest
Yeah, that's
sacrifice, you
nice.
know.
Yeah.
Um, and I had just such a blast. And then from there, we're like, okay, who's the director of this? Could it be Peter Jackson? And it could never be. But we did have to pitch it to because Disney made Get Back these Apple Core, the Beatles company,
Right.
and Wingnut Films, Peter Jackson's company, had to approve this because they were now part of the Disney family, and you don't want to upset them. And so we did.
You guys are really playing in the stratosphere there, huh?
Yep, yep. And they were very enthusiastic, and they came back, and Wingnut, Peter Jackson's company, came back. Are we keeping a tally of how many times I'm saying Peter Jackson? Six? Are we up to? Um,
Jeff, it's Peter. I'm so
yeah,
glad you mentioned me so many times on the podcast. I,
they're like,
I,
yeah,
I went
Peter.
and watched the Skycap episode. It was amazing.
Which one was it? Was it 1108? It was. And so they were like, yeah, Peter loves it. He's a huge Muppet fan. If you ever have something for him, let us know. And we're
Dun
like, oh
dun
my God.
dun. Yeah.
And so pie in the sky, there's no way. And they're like, yeah, maybe it'll work out. And we're like, we wrote it for Kevin Smith. And because we had a connection with him and like it just fit, like that Kevin Smith would know this band,
Yeah.
you know, that Silent Bob and Snoochie Boochies would know this hippie stoner band.
Right.
And we shot it, and we were going back and forth still with Peter Jackson because he's like, maybe we'll show up, like it just
Right.
was maybe a possibility. We shot the Kevin Smith episode. He was amazing. Um, and like was so cool with all the references we put into his movies,
Hmm.
joking about them, mocking them, and it fits so thematically
Right.
because we did a whole chasing Amy thing. And the Tuesday after we shot it, our producer walks in, absolutely ashen faced, and was just like, um, Peter's people are really excited for him to show up in 2 weeks. And I'm like, what?
Can we have Peter shoot something on the roof we took apart for the other
Totally,
episode with the
yeah.
lava lamps?
Amongst debris.
Yeah.
And we'll surround him with footage of infernal machines, his bomb. And we're like, look, we would love to have Sir Peter Jackson come and do this. Would he be cool with it being a single scene? Just an epilogue for that episode.
Yeah.
And yep, he would be. And for the next 3, 4 weeks of our production, he will not be there. He's not gonna, the last day of shooting, Sir Peter Jackson showed up. And it's
Wow.
like, everything that you've had to like push, it's like the ultimate Friday of a shoot
Right. Right.
where
Right.
everything gets pushed to that day.
We're
And yeah,
79 days behind and we
yeah,
have until 3 o'clock this
totally.
afternoon.
And now not only is it one Muppet is in the room, but now Peter Jackson is entering, like, oh,
Right.
that's even
Right.
too much. And we wrote a whole scene for Peter Jackson, and I was like, there has to be these two jokes in there. And I will die on this sword on the last day of shooting. I still get
Uh-huh.
to write. We have to have these two jokes. A Meet the Feebles joke, and I make trilogies.
Uh-huh.
Um, and fucking Peter Jackson is saying this line, and then we're like hanging out with him and just geeking out about
Right.
his movies. And
What has
uh,
he made anything I might have heard of?
I'll tell you what, though, this was his first time on a soundstage since The Hobbit.
Wow.
So that was sort of crazy. But yeah, no, now he did documentaries.
Right. World
Um,
War One.
yeah, which was awesome.
Wow,
But
that's incredible. And so you guys, you fucking hit it out of the park, right? You got
no, we
yourselves
did
an
not.
Emmy
But
for that.
it was fun to make, absolutely. And then we did a reshoot for the finale. Because here was the other thing. Adam's been through this so many times. Whenever we watched a first cut, a first assembly, I would, I'm an editor, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And Adam's like, it'll always be. The first cut will always be the worst thing because they're putting everything that we wrote in the order that we wrote it on
Right,
that,
right,
episode. We will recut it, and we will make it what it should be.
right,
This is our next chance to rewrite. And the other crazy thing, which is a very unique thing in the Muppet world, it's that we can rewrite what's coming out of their flapping mouths.
right.
As long as you match up the syllables. And it's not something we wanted to
So the
do.
Muppets are always lip syncing. They're not
No,
actually saying those things.
no, not on our show, more often than not, 90% of our show, maybe 80% of our show, they're saying what they said on the set. And I'll tell you the other thing, they're such incredible improvisers.
Yeah.
They're so comfortable with each other and they know these characters that of, let's say, 60% was written, maybe 50%. Another 30% is shit that they made up on the set. That is so much funnier than
Uh-huh.
anything we wrote. And then what do we have? 20% net left is stuff that we rewrote in the
I don't
editing
know
room to
math.
fix story.
Yeah.
And it was embarrassing, but we're just like, can you just do this? And
Right, you
here's
have to
the
do that.
syllable count.
By the
So
way, if I had planned this better, if I had done a better job of thinking about what we were going to be talking about,
yeah.
I would have set it up so that there was somebody right behind me. So at some point I leaned over like this and it turned out I had been a Muppet this whole time.
Yeah, and you're lip syncing to
Yeah.
someone else's. Yeah, totally.
God damn it. Next time we do this,
Next
that's what
time.
I'll
It
do.
was the original Skycap. He's
Yeah.
providing.
Yes.
But it was yeah, we got into the room and we would, that I found out was Adam's other incredible skill. He's such a great writer and
Hmm.
he has such an incredible sense for editing. I'm a cool, stylish editor, but his sense of story in
Right.
the editing room is so great. That was I was like, I can't believe you're teaching me about editing. And we rewrote many episodes,
Uh-huh.
restructured many episodes. The thing
After
with
you
the
already had the footage.
Yep. And we, the documentary episode, as an editor, I could talk with Matt, our director, and just say, look, shoot a lot of whip pans, and shoot just B-roll. I want to see, like, here's a list of like 15
Technical
things.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here, I want to see Zoot's foot tapping,
Right.
just chords, UV meters, because you could always cut to that as glue
Right.
between these little, segments. We'll treat the scenes as segments whip pan to something else
Right.
or cut to just them just drinking tea or being looking um that stuff I could suggest. But yeah, we figured out story and then we saw our last episode and I'm like, oh well, that's terrible, right? So but we're good because we're going to spend the next 2 weeks recutting it. And Adam's like, no, I don't think we have this. I don't think we ever wrote what's needs to be here. And so
Ah.
we had to do a reshoot, and we had a day and we had a volume. For one day, we had this digital screen,
Thank you, Mandalorian.
truly. And they're just like, what do you want the background to be? And we're like, it's the reverse of like on the lawn of the house, of the shack where they're staying. And
Hmm.
it's like, they sent us a bunch of stills. They're like, which one do you want? That one. Not realizing this is totally Spinal Tap, that because we looked at stills and we picked a still, it's going to be a still. So it's them standing in front of trees in nature and they're absolutely frozen in time. Um, I guess the advantage is no one's
Fucking
looking at trees
Stonehenge.
when they're
Yeah.
talking Muppets in front of it.
Right. Right.
But it was kind of amazing. And we
Well,
figured
that's fantastic. That is quite an experience that you had.
it was nuts.
Um, yeah.
It was
And
like Randy joked that this was the Matrix. This was a construct of my, imagination. Like
right.
just all the things that I got to do and every
Right.
part of production and post-production I got to experience. Like I couldn't have, you
And
know,
your sensibility and your jokes and
yep,
your Muppet fandom, all of it coming together is
yeah, it was crazy.
quite a bonanza.
Yeah. I
Um,
co-wrote a song with Linda Perry.
Crazy.
It was nuts. It was the best.
And you were rewarded at award season?
Yeah. So our show came out right as the writer strike happened.
Mm-hmm.
So we couldn't do so then like we couldn't be on the talk shows. The band was supposed to be on Kimmel, but there were
Uh-huh.
no talk shows. So our show sort of wasn't as successfully made
It's been a
aware to
difficult
people.
period for Hollywood.
It was very difficult and for our show. And there were a lot of cuts happening at Disney. So, our
Hmm.
PR department disappeared and we were hot potatoed into and now a team that was, they're like, what is this show? Oh, it's the Muppets, like Sesame Street. Like what is this?
Right.
We had, two billboards in the country.
So we'll
Uh,
give them a lot of cookies.
we got, yeah, exactly, right. I know they'll learn about the letter F.
Hmm.
Because it was close to,
Near and far, near
yep.
and far.
And it turned out it was more far than near. Uh, but
Nice.
it was tough. And as award season came and award seizures, it was like yeah, it was a little tough. We got some right away. Um, and our marketing, like I got like Clio's, which was awesome. I cut the trailer, like it was crazy. And then but like we submitted ourselves, Bill and I submitted ourselves to the WGAs. Um, we weren't even on Disney's FYC site.
Oh, really?
And somehow, yeah, in spite of it all, we won an Emmy for Best Family Television Show.
Wow.
We show up at the ceremony and they have assigned seats. And Adam was like, you know why we're sitting in row N, right? I said, I do not.
Then they accidentally called it the Muppet Show.
They did. It was at Muppets Mayhem. And it was he's like, we're sitting here because we lost. So have fun.
He knew he'd been
He
there
knew.
enough times.
And then, yeah, and then at the end, we won. And it was just like,
Take that, Adam Goldberg.
yep. So what do you know about row N and
Yeah.
seating charts?
We're in
And it
row
was like,
N
yeah,
because we're number one.
that was it. We did it. It was more near than far.
Yes.
And
Nice.
it was a
There's
crazy
those
night.
puns.
There you go. And yeah, exactly. The eye rolls. And it was nuts. It was a crazy, crazy experience.
That's
Um,
incredible.
but we didn't have enough viewers. And yeah,
Well, the TV world is very fractured at this point.
it was
There's a
definitely
lot of
fractured.
different things to consume, you
Yeah,
know?
we were just like, give us a meeting. Let us, because we spoke with them.
Season two, you were trying to, this is after they said we're not coming back, and you were like,
Yep.
just let us talk to you about season two.
Yeah, this was a week before the Emmys.
Hmm.
We had a meeting finally after they put it off several times. It was like we were setting up the meeting, and they're like, "Yeah, we can have one in 6 weeks." Sure, a lot of people had to be there. I cut a trailer um, about what our season, and I used footage from our show. But like we knew what the problems were, and we knew what their problems were, and this is how we solved them all. And here's the pitch. And when we finally had our meeting, we had our meeting with people who had already made the decision. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think we're like, oh no, this is okay. This is actually kind of cool, but we've made our decision.
right.
And yeah, I think we found out where we stand.
Guys, I'm sorry to tell you, we did have to give the volume back to the Mandalorian. So,
Mandalorian got it back,
yeah.
and Peter Jackson is using it. So it was
No, I
tough.
mean that's an incredible experience. And it does suck that you don't get season two.
Yeah,
I feel like that is so a part of the business at this point, you know? It's like nothing gets picked up for another. And if it gets season two, forget it. It's definitely done.
yeah.
Which is terrible. Really,
But
really a shame.
but again, going back to the Matrix thing, it was like, no, I got the experience
Yeah,
from
yeah.
start to finish. It was really
And so
crazy.
you won an Emmy, right?
Yeah.
So you have an Emmy statue.
Yep.
Why is that not in this shot?
Because it's in the house. Kids like to play with it. It's no,
I
I don't
see.
know. You're right. I
I
should have
see.
brought it. I have a
It
Lego
just
Oscar.
it just seems like, if you have something like that, it's got to be in the place where people are most likely to see it.
Totally, and probably people who you're going to be dealing with business wise. And
Right, right. Oh, I should pay attention to this
well,
guy.
I do mention it nonstop. So
Right.
um,
Do you know Peter Jackson or what an Emmy is?
I got both of them over here. Come here.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff. You've done all this stuff. Now, what are you like? What's the plan? You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean to sound like your high school guidance counselor, but it feels like you could do whatever you want at this point if you can figure out what you want to do, you
It's
know?
weird. I think this a successful show. The Emmy's fine, but it has to be more visibly successful. So I don't
Hmm.
know if it's seen as successful. And then it was just like, yeah, we were just back to pitching stuff. Adam and I were working on stuff together. We
Uh-huh.
weren't sure if it was Muppet things or
Right.
if it was other things. So we have this other pitch that we've been working on.
Great.
And then, yeah, I was back to writing. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be in a room right away. Um, I went back to editing, which was awesome. Like, I think after the tough time that I had in the room, it was sort of like, after the show came back, or, before the show came back, I'm like, oh, I have to work. So I got back to editing. I was like, oh, this is nice. I'm here in my happy place, and I'm just writing and I'm editing. And what was also kind of fun was when I'm writing, I could be cutting a trailer for the thing that I'm writing. And when I'm stuck writing, I could jump to editing and I come up with ideas
Right.
for what I'm writing. It's such a bizarro way to write anything. But
Well, yes, you are a bizarre individual, but I think the whole, and I think this is something it took me a long time to understand. The whole thing about being a writer is figuring out what your writing process is.
Mhm.
And it's different for everybody. And I spent years buying every book I could find about writing because I was like, somebody will have the answer.
Mhm.
And that's just not how it works. What works is what works for you. And I think that, you know, trying all these different things and what you're talking about sounds very cool and very interesting to go like, I'm going to go cut a trailer and something will come to me while I'm doing it that will solve a problem on the page for me. I mean, it's really quite remarkable.
I think the thing I miss that I would love to still do, I'd love to be in a real writer's room,
Very
a
fun, right?
physical writer's room, just to,
Oh, you never did it in the room
nope.
itself.
No, I
Yeah,
mean, Adam and I, we were in our office, but it's Adam and I working.
right.
And
It's
that's
very
not the same
different
as,
from having 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 people all in a
yeah,
room.
people that you don't know as well as one of your best friends,
Right.
like just pitching ideas and eating bagels.
No, I
Um,
mean I've talked about how fun that is. I haven't done it in a little while myself, but like going into a room with a bunch of smart, funny people and all trying to make each other laugh all day long is pretty ideal for a situation to be in, you
yeah,
know? All right, I have two more questions, Jeff,
please.
and one of them you started to get into, but I want to get a little bit more specific about it. So you talked about cutting trailers and writing and whatever. Can you talk just for a second about your daily routine as far as do you write every day, every week, every month, every year, every decade? I mean, I could go on and name a variety of time structures. Um, but what is your process in terms of how you do all that,
You
you
didn't
know?
mention every midnight, and that's what I do. I
Is
wake
it
up.
really?
Yeah, no, I'm an early riser.
Hmm.
Um, and I will do crossword puzzles and all the New York Times puzzles. I come out to my office. If I have an idea, anytime I will write it down. The Notes app is just full of them. Um,
Hmm.
but no, I need like 2 hours in the morning of just sitting in my office looking at the internet and what's happening in the world, which
Right.
is doesn't necessarily put me in a great place. But
They talk about how you're supposed to avoid that to be creative because the world is such a shit show right now. But if it works for you,
yeah,
it's
now
everybody
you
has
tell
their
me.
own process, you
Yeah,
know?
I need to explore the internet, and then if I have an editing job or an actual job to do, I'll edit. But even that starts in the afternoon.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, do I write? I don't necessarily write every day. I think about this. I think about writing every day.
I feel like that counts though. I feel like that's
Does it?
part of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like right now I have three different writing things in three different stages.
Yeah.
And that's why I take 3 showers a day. But
You're
it's
very clean. Yeah.
no, I mean it's awesome to distract myself with editing. Even if I'm not cutting a pitch trailer for my thing, just to work there, and then I can come out and I'm thinking about something else. And yeah, and then I will open that Word document and I will start writing ideas. I have a hard time sitting down and saying, now I'm going to think about this.
Right.
Um, but yeah, like Adam came to me the other day. He's like, I have this opportunity for something. Can you think of something that might fit under this umbrella?
Hmm.
And that's when I was like, yeah, let me go home and take a shower. And I came out of
Right.
the
And you
shower with
you you
two
went into
ideas.
the shower, you put an umbrella up and you're like,
Yeah.
I fit under the umbrella and it keeps me dry from the shower.
For when we were done with our writer's room, I got all the writers these waterproof pencils and pads.
Uh-huh.
I was like, not that I sit there. But that was the other day. I had also gotten when I started Muppets Mayhem, I had gotten a waterproof iPhone case because I was like, I'm gonna bring this in here and just use the Notes app. I never
So it's
want to.
interesting though, because you're talking about two different things. You're talking about using your notes app, and that's
Yeah.
where you do a lot of note taking and writing down whatever ideas pop into your head. But do you actually write stuff out on a pad and pen, or
No, my handwriting is illegible.
uh-huh,
It's always been. So I will type. Um, and so that said, like, yeah, if I'm not working, I will go inside. If my kids are home from school, I have to pick them up from school. I'll sit inside just to be in the same house with them, and I'll just sit with my laptop and write. And that's usually at around maybe it starts before I pick them up, but around like 3 o'clock before I have to pick them up. That's when I will get into a groove
uh-huh,
and I'll really start writing. And I have to stop and I'll have to pick them up, but I'll be thinking
right.
as I'm driving and come home and you know run back to the room and start writing again, and then dinner time, and
Can't have coffee until the coffee brews. It's all part of the process, you
yeah.
know?
But no, I don't have like, I mean, do you? Do you have like a strict schedule that you follow?
I've been trying, not for long, but I
Yeah.
do. I've been because my problem is always that I find a million ways not to do the writing stuff. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, oh, I got to answer this person's email. I got to pay this bill. I got to watch
Totally.
this thing on TV. I got to do this. I got to do that. And what I've really been trying to do is first thing in the morning, I don't look at anything. I don't get into anything. I spend 2 hours just writing, and
Which is amazing.
it has been really great. Like it really feels like it has shifted things for me, you know.
How early do you wake up?
I get up very early. I get up at 11.
All right. So are you still stand-upping? Are you still like going out in
I
the
have
attic
not
night?
been for a while. I'm trying to get back into it.
But you're a
But
night owl.
well, not as much as I used to be.
So you're
Not
sleeping for 14 hours.
no. I'm kidding about 11. I get up. I try to get up by like 7 or 7:30, and
Yeah.
then just get right to either my desk space or a coffee shop, depending on what my mood is. And I don't eat breakfast. I don't. I just start drinking coffee and writing. And if I can do it, which I have been pretty good, not 100%, but that's okay. That's another part of, see, you're coming in the middle of this whole thing where I'm writing a second draft of my own life right now. So one of the things I'm doing is not feeling like everything has to be perfect all the time
Yep, yep, yep.
and not beating myself up for not getting it right. So I'm like, well, I did it 4 days this week and there's 7 days in the week, so that's good enough, you know. But I will say, because I've focused on it, it feels like it is working and I am being more productive than I have in quite some time,
It's
you know.
terrific. Do you find are you more productive in a coffee shop or at home? I would think it would
Uh,
be at home, no? With no
well,
distractions?
here's the thing about home for me recently is that couple things. Uh, and you're going to say there's easy solutions to that, and you're not wrong,
Hmm.
but you know, whatever. Let's just pretend that I've tried a couple of different ways to solve these
This
problems.
would have worked.
One thing is that there is, I live on a hill in Hollywood, and
Mhm.
Hollywood, as you know, is filled with 100-year-old pipes. So they've been working on the hill for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, 5 months, something. And when I say work on the hill, I'm saying jackhammers right outside my window.
Yep. Yep.
So that's one thing. Second thing is there's somebody who lives, I don't know where, maybe right outside my window. I've never seen them, but somewhere close to where I live, who is perhaps, I've talked about this elsewhere, but perhaps a descendant of Doc Holliday, you know,
Yeah.
a lunger with a terrible, yeah. And it's been going on for years, but I haven't really noticed it. And now that I'm there in the morning writing, I'm like, holy shit, go see a doctor, you
So,
know?
or here's just like leave a bag of lozenges at least,
Yeah.
you know?
And then the third thing is, and again, this is something I was aware of, but not as much as I have been since I've started doing this. Another person who lives, maybe they live together right outside my window, but this person is a singing teacher. So they
Oh
have
God.
lessons all the time. And I don't know if you know
Nope.
about singing, but you have to warm up. You have to go, you know, you have to do like a note and then another note and then another note, and they're all in a row. It's not an actual
Scales?
song. It's
Yeah.
correct. And you know, I did musical theater all through high school and college, so I used to do that shit, and I had no idea how fucking incredibly annoying it is when you can. I shouldn't say they live right outside my window. They live just at the periphery of my hearing
Uh-huh.
boundary, so I
Uh-huh.
can just barely hear in the
Yeah.
background,
But
like,
that cuts through.
oh, oh, oh. So anyway, if I can figure out how to, you know, put some music on and whatever, but that also makes a difference in my writing. So
Oh, totally. Yeah.
the white noise of a coffee shop sometimes is helpful to me, you
Do you
know.
write to music when you're home? Or
Yeah,
do you write
pretty
to music?
much. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a
Um
soundtrack guy? Are you
I have a variety of things. I have one of those binaural beats focus soundtracks
yeah.
that I listen to, also movie soundtracks, and you know your James Newton Howards and your Hans Zimmers, and Anything like that, I can pretty much get something out of, you
Yeah,
know.
that's awesome. Yeah, I do that too.
Um, okay, here's my last question because, like I said, I'm doing a
And then I
second.
get to go.
Who's interviewing who here? Um, no, one of the other things is caring for oneself physically. Do
Mhm.
you do any kind of, are you a tennis player? Or do you exercise? What kind of stuff do you do to keep yourself
I am
going?
nodding to say no. I did not for a long time.
Hmm.
I had my metabolism on my side. And
Hmm.
then I feel like after this show, I was depressed. And so I probably gained more weight than I should.
Hmm.
And then I started walking. Um, I have a
How many
neighbor.
how many steps a day? There's a certain number. It
I
might
think
be the
about
same number as the number of hours. I don't know. I get confused between how many hours and how many steps.
I do about 8,000 a day.
Okay.
So I have a neighbor whose daughter was our kid's babysitter, and we live in Hollywood, so I instantly Googled who her parents were, and IMDb'd her parents, and her father was a writer of things that I was interested in, and I was like, oh, we should be friends. And
Hmm.
so one day we were going away, and I had to drop off my keys with the babysitter because she was going to feed our pet lizard,
Hmm.
and I was like, I think the dad answered the door, and I introduced myself, and we just became fast friends. And he's great. We just clicked instantly. He has like panels on Comic-Con, and he put me on them as a writer.
Oh, great.
And then like I saw him walking around the block one day, and I was like, big headphones on, like
Hmm.
he's in the studio. And I was like, hey, if you're ever bored or when you listen to podcasts or whatever, and you need a walking buddy, um, let's walk. And no one wants a no one wants a walking buddy.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
finally came around and he was just like, "Do you want to be my walking buddy?" And a couple months ago, we just started walking together. So every morning,
Oh, that's great.
he and I walk together. Invariably, as two writers, you start just like coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
We came up with a bunch of them. We're about to go out to pitch with one of them or two of them.
Hold on, Bob. I got to jump in the shower so I can write this down.
Yeah, seriously, I was like, thank God I'm sweaty yet, and I would go home and come up with more ideas and just text him back. But then he's working on something and I'm editing it. Like I
Great.
was editing part of it.
Hmm.
Um, so it was just like that was fantastic. And then this is only between you, me, and your podcast listeners.
Great.
I started doing this secret workout. I saw something, the algorithm sensed who I was and what
Hmm.
my weight was and how out of shape I was. So they're like, try this, workout regime. It's this much money a month. And I was like, I should probably do this.
Hmm.
And the secret is I did not tell my family. I wanted them, there's something about it. I just want them to notice.
Right.
Um, Mostly my wife. I just want her to
Just
notice.
so you know, your kids listen to this podcast. So,
Religiously, totally.
yeah. Yeah.
This and there's
Big
another one about
fans.
Minecraft and
Yeah.
that you also host, right?
Yes. Yes. I'm a big Minecraft person.
So I've been doing that. But the thing about that is it's a secret workout.
Okay.
And I can only do it when my wife is not working from home. Um,
It's a secret because you've chosen to keep it a secret.
yep, yeah, this is like this is,
It's
my
not like Fight Club or something.
well, it could be. I don't know what the next, like, where it goes after this, next
Right.
six
Right.
months, but that could be the next stage. And so, yeah, I do that. I try to do it every morning. So I will
Hmm.
drop the kids off. I will come home. I will do this 15-minute workout. And at a certain point, they were like, we think you moved up to the intermediate level. We're going to make it 25 minutes.
Are
And
you
I was like,
guys out of your minds? I got to
yeah,
go walking with my walking buddy.
yeah. Well, that was the other problem with that. Between that and then my walk, I was not starting my day till like 11.
Right.
And it's one thing if I'm on the internet and I'm just seeing the lay of the land and what's going on for me to ease myself into now working, by being on my computer to ease into work.
Hmm.
Now I was like outside and doing
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I try to do both. I went back to just the beginner level for 15 minutes because 25 is out of the question. Um, but we'll do our walks, and we moved it up to do it earlier. Um, and it's been pretty good. but I also like see a lot of movies. And I see a lot of movies with my son now, and that's been terrific. But every time I go to the movies, I have to have popcorn.
Yeah, of course. Of
So
course.
it's all balancing out in the
I
worst
said I
way.
only had two questions. I have one more, and you
Come on, bring them on.
can be very succinct in this one, and then we'll go our separate ways. But who
Why?
was your favorite Muppet character of all time, and why?
I mean, I guess it was Dr. Teeth.
It is Dr. Teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just loved, he was outlandish. He made music. Uh, he had friends who he made music with. Um, he just, I guess, didn't care, right? He'd say what was on his mind, and he loved the chaos that surrounded him.
And this was
Those,
always true even when you were a kid.
yeah, I love the personality. It was a Jim Henson character. That was
Hmm.
another thing.
Right.
Um, but he just was so much fun. And I guess yeah, I loved the look of him and the Electric Mayhem. But yeah, he was all of them informed my personality, I want to say, and just my sensibility, my sense of humor.
The
But
Mayhem and Dr. Teeth.
yeah, on the last day of shooting, uh, we finally finished, like down to the wire, and Bill just took off Dr. Teeth and just put him in my arms. And there's a picture of me just like feeling so many emotions and never knowing his weight, and just like here was this 20 pound of just like like it's such an overwhelming moment in picture. But yeah, that was it. That was sort of just the best. And to be able to then write to him and these other characters was just such
Yeah.
a absolute thrill.
Amazing.
Who was yours?
If I had to pick a Muppet, it'd be very hard for me to do that.
Not a Muppet fan.
No, 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 I am definitely. I mean, I love all of them for so many different reasons,
Totally, right?
Like Kermit is obviously the king, but then also like Fozzie Bear, I always loved, Ralph the dog, Gonzo. Like I love the ones that are sort of flustered and put upon,
I mean, and they're all extensions of these performers,
Yeah, of
and
course.
so many, a number of
That's why
them
they feel
are,
so real.
yep. Um, Dave Goelz, who's Gonzo, is also still the original Gonzo, is
Hmm.
still Zoot.
Hmm.
And so that like, and I've been studying him for years, and to like hang with him
Right.
was awesome. We through this, we got to hang out with Frank Oz. Frank wasn't involved in our show, but we got to hang out with Frank Oz.
Amazing.
And like he just talks about the character work of
Right.
it.
Right.
And you realize you're not just writing like, and that was part of our pitch as well. These are not Looney Tunes. These are not two-dimensional characters who
Right.
can
They
be
exist.
described.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I was like, these are like they should be in the parks, and like these are three-dimensional characters. They're more
Hmm.
like they're things that like, it seems weird to see Mickey Mouse walking around, but it would make sense to see Kermit.
Right.
They're three-dimensional in more
Oh
ways than
yeah,
one.
yeah. There's an ice cream stand right over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Selling it'd be great. But
Uh,
these were just extensions of these, performers. And like that was the other mistake. People they're like often think they're voices or they're voiced.
hmm.
These are performed and they were extensions of these characters and they're still extensions of these characters.
Yeah.
And they've evolved to be extensions of these performers.
Right.
It's fascinating
Jeff,
stuff.
can anybody find you on social media? Are you a social media guy?
Yeah, I'm on
And where can people find some of your trailers?
My trailer's on YouTube. If you find me, Jeff York's on YouTube, I think I probably have a channel that's all my real trailers. I never put out my pitch trailers, which
Okay.
is the craziest part of the thing because it's all word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
Just people saying to another person, "Oh, you should use this guy. He helped me sell my show. He'll help you sell your show."
That's great.
Um, but I have like my regular trailers. I did one which is really fun with my friend Topher Grace as an actor, and we bonded over. We'd been introduced on a Star Wars thing, and we bonded, and we made another Star Wars Uber trailer together, and that got
Cool.
a lot of fun attention. But yeah, so I'm Jeff Yorks, I guess, on YouTube. I'm Jeff Yorks on Threads. I'm Mr. Jeff Yorks on Instagram. And I'm something on Blue Sky. What am I on Blue Sky? Jeff York's at Blue Sky. Yeah. Yeah, whatever it is.
Great.
Yeah. Hope to see you there, Sean.
Yeah, I hope so too. Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Dude, it's my pleasure. I love reconnecting with you.
Yeah. So there you have it. Jeff Yorks with incredible insight into the creative process, the writing process, the Muppets process, his own personal life. Lots of great stuff. And if you want to find out more about Jeff, you can go to apparently he has his own channel on YouTube. I don't know how you get your own channel, but he has one. His name is Jeff Yorks, and that's his channel. He's also Mr. Jeff Yorks on Instagram. He is Jeff Yorks on Blue Sky. So there isn't 100% consistency, but he's pretty consistent as to how he calls himself on those places. You can also follow me on Instagram at Sean Conroy. I have a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to, and it's about writing and writing sitcom pilots, and it's also about just being in Hollywood and how that adventure unfolds. So go to my website, you can subscribe to that, and also like and subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a review and rate us, because everything is dictated by the algorithm at this point, and every little bit helps with the algorithm. So I would appreciate it if you would rate and review this podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to go soak my fists in salt water to toughen up my knuckles so that next week I can continue punching up. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.